My favourite thing about Christmas is actually not receiving. I just get so much joy out of giving.
It's the Happy Families Podcast, the podcast for the time poor parent who just wants answers now.
Hello, this is Dr. Justin Coulson. I'm the author of 6 books about raising happy families, and I'm here with my wife and co-host, Mrs. Happy Families, Kylie, mum to our 6 daughters.
Well, tonight you are doing a webinar.
Yeah, I love doing webinars. So if you remember, every time I say if you remember, it's like I'm saying if you remember. But I'm not saying if you remember. I'm saying if you're a member of the Happy Families membership, every single month we do a webinar. And tonight is our December webinar. And you know what? I'm just so excited about tonight because one of the big questions that comes up in the media at this time every year is how are we supposed to get the balance right with the gift giving and the kids and the entitlement and the expectations and all that sort of stuff. So we're talking about how to unspoil the kids for Christmas, and I've put so much effort into this webinar. I can't wait to talk about it because I reckon it's a topic that's really pressing, right? We want our kids to have the magic of Christmas. We want them to feel the joy and all the goodness that Christmas offers, but we don't want to overdo it. You know, that whole indulgence thing, it really weighs on parents' minds at this time of the year.
I have to admit that at this time of the year, I am a little bit jealous of families with only 2 kids.
Can you imagine how quiet Christmas morning would be with 2 kids?
Well, it's not. I don't even worry about Christmas morning. It's how do I make sure that I have 6 children feel like they are equally gifted and do it in such a way that I don't lose my mind in the process, because it's so hard to keep track of it all.
It's actually really interesting. I've watched you do this over the years. So something about Kylie and I'm like I just don't really care about gifts. I don't care
at all. You are literally the hardest person to buy for.
So I don't need anything. I don't want anything. I literally, my perfect Christmas gift is, hey, here's some money. Let's all go to the cafe and have a really nice brunch. Obviously not on Christmas Day because
that's a lie. Your favourite gift is a book every year without fail.
Yeah, well, I like that too. But really, it's just about time with the people that I love. And I don't care about stuff. But because I don't care about receiving gifts, I'm really lousy at buying them and giving them. And so you have Kylie will come to me and say, what should we get the kids for Christmas? Or what should we get your brother or, you know, the sisters or whoever it is? We've got a large extended family. And I stare blankly at Kylie and I'm like, does anybody really need anything? Like, I don't need anything. Why would anyone else need anything? I'm just not into the whole Christmas gift giving. And so you carry the burden, the significant burden of buying for your family and extended family, which I think totals around about 20 odd people, and my family and extended family, which probably totals about 40 odd people. Do we actually buy gifts for that many people? Not anymore. We've backed off, haven't we?
We have backed off a little bit. The problem is, I guess, that whole opposite attracts thing, because I am a gift giver.
Oh, my goodness.
Absolutely. So my favourite thing about Christmas is actually not receiving. I just get so much joy out of giving.
So I'm with you on that. What I've found as I've gotten older is I'm not interested in opening any gifts that people get for me. I don't care. And I don't say that in a nasty way. Like, I'm so grateful that they've thought of me and want to do that. But I'm just not that excited about opening gifts. It's not important to me because gifts don't interest me that much. But what I love is the excitement that comes as we watch somebody picking up the gift that you have taken so much time to carefully select and thoughtfully personalize so that it's something for them. I love the anticipation behind the giving, which is, I know, what you love as well.
Yeah. Well, tonight you're actually going to talk about how we unspoil the kids at Christmas time. It's a pretty interesting topic, I think.
Yeah, let's talk about that in a sec. But before we do that, I reckon just this conversation has sparked something for me. I reckon we've got a couple of Christmas conversations that we've got to have on the podcast. So in the next few days, let's have a conversation about whether we should be, you know, like what is an appropriate amount of gifts for the kids, whether we should be buying them essentials. Let's talk about Santa Claus. And what Santa should be bringing, what parents should be bringing. I reckon there's a whole lot of really fun Christmassy stuff that we can talk about. Now that we're in December, I mean, gosh, Christmas is, count the days, Monday the 7th. I can't do the maths, but like three weeks away or something like that. It's less than 3 weeks. Holy smokes. So let's do that over the next few days. In just a sec, though, we'll talk about what's happening in tonight's webinar. Oh, by the way, if you haven't grabbed tickets for tonight's webinar, they're available at happyfamilies.com.au. Just go to the shop and click on How to Unspoil the Kids this Christmas. We'll give you a taster of what's in the webinar tonight in just a sec.
It's the Happy Families Podcast.
Imagine a home where discipline got results without anyone having to feel bad or in trouble. The Do's and Don'ts of Discipline is a webinar to help parents set limits with love, compassion and humanity. Find it now at happyfamilies.com.au/shop.
It's the Happy Families Podcast, and today we are talking about how we unspoil the kids at Christmas. You've got a webinar coming up tonight, and I did have a sneak peek at your notes just to have a look at what you were going to talk about, and I'm actually really impressed.
Yeah, cool.
I don't get to watch your webinars usually because I'm the one
You're wrangling the children,
kids at night trying to put them all to bed. But I love, number one, seeing what Ev does with your slides because she just does such an amazing job at the visuals. But the concepts that you're going to talk about tonight, I think, are really important.
So let's do a quick snapshot of a couple of ideas because obviously we can't go over it all. There's an hour's worth of content. Let's talk about two things that I'll discuss tonight, just in brief.
So I think the first thing I really want to touch on with you is perspective. I think that that's probably going to set the scene for what you'll talk about tonight.
Yeah, I reckon that when it comes to Christmas, sometimes we lose all perspective about everything Christmas related. We get so caught up in, and I know this is going to sound so stereotypical, but we get caught up in the rush and the busyness and the buying the gifts and the materialism and the commercialization and we actually sometimes think that the whole purpose of Christmas is indulgence. And
well, that's what it is, isn't it?
No, it's not. But here's you're so funny. Yes, that's exactly what it is for some people like you. No, I'm just kidding. You know what I actually think drives this though? There's this feeling that hopefully if we had wonderful childhoods, we have grown up experiencing what we loosely call the magic of Christmas. You know, everyone talks about the magic of Christmas. And as adults, what we think the magic of Christmas means is lots and lots of presents, or as my mum says, prezzies. We've got to get prezzies for everyone. We need prezzies for you and for the grandkids and prezzies and prezzies. I hate it when she says prezzies. For goodness sakes, they're not prezzies. Anyway, we get so caught up in that, and it actually feels like that is the purpose of Christmas.
So what is, if that's not the purpose of Christmas, what is?
Well, I mean, some people will have a faith background, and so for them, and that's us as well, that's absolutely the very core of it. But even if you don't have a faith background and you're just trying to recreate the magic of Christmas that you enjoyed when you were a child, you'll probably recall, if you reflect carefully, that prezzies was only a very small part of the magic of Christmas. Yes, there was excitement about what Santa would bring, and there was just delight and thrill that you could all sit around the Christmas tree and unpack these prezzies. But there was something else, though, that was really, really magical about Christmas. And here's what it was. We focused on zero agenda. It was just family. It was relationships. It was fun, games, humor, music. If you're lucky enough to have a pool, it was swimming in the backyard pool with dad, and you know all those things that you don't get on pretty much any other day of the year. No shops are open. No one's driving around doing stuff unless you're going to visit loved ones or they're coming to visit you. But it's pretty much a day where everyone is so focused on here and now.
You know, when I think back to my childhood and think about the things that I remember so fondly about Christmas, my great-grandparents, they actually would put on a family reunion every Christmas. And so we would have cousins and aunties and uncles like showing up from all over the place that I hadn't seen all year. And there were no gifts involved in that process. It was just about family time. And I didn't have the stress that parents have. You know, as a young kid, the magic of Christmas was having everybody together, like all my favorite people in the whole wide world in one space.
So when I talk about getting understanding the purpose and taking the long view, what do we want the kids to remember 20 years from now? I bet you boots that they're not going to remember the presents that were under the tree. They're not going to remember, oh, do you remember that Christmas where I got that thing? They just don't remember that. That's not what the magic.
Unless it was a pony, I reckon they'd remember that.
Okay, they probably would remember the pony. But when we talk about the magic of Christmas, it's usually It's about the time. It's about the moments. It's about the relationships. It's about
Or my sister's chocolate mousse trifle.
I do like your sister's chocolate mousse trifle. If that's one gift that somebody could give me this Christmas, I'll take your sister's chocolate mousse trifle.
I hope she's listening.
Adele, there's your hint. We'll make sure that you hear this episode.
All right, so we've got perspective now. And you're going to share 3 things that we're going to focus on tonight. Now, we've really talked heavily about family because that, I think, is at the centre and the heart of what Christmas is for me, at least.
Yeah, and it's worth just pausing for a moment and acknowledging that there are many people who don't have the joy that comes from having a close-knit, tight family where they get to share that time. And if that is you, finding people that you have wonderful support and joy with, people that you can rely on, people who make up your village, having some kind of engagement with them is the best that you can hope for. Make sure that you organise it. Make sure it happens. Don't stay home and be on your lonesome. It's too important a day.
So the last thing we're going to focus on before we close up is focusing on others.
Oh, you know what? We don't have time to talk about all the amazing things that I want to share here. There is so much research that highlights, and I quote from Elizabeth Dunn, who is just a beautiful researcher who's done some great science around the science of giving, volunteering, sharing, helping others. She says, quote, investing financial and emotional resources in others is associated with greater happiness than investing in oneself.
I guess that's why I love the gift giving, because I love bringing joy to other people, and whether it be a homemade treat that my daughters and I have, cooked in the kitchen, or whether it be a gift that I have, carefully, painstakingly picked as I've been out at the shops and something's jumped out at me and I've thought about a particular person that just would love that. There's just so much joy that fills my heart seeing someone else feel appreciated, valued, and just noticed.
Well, I'm going to share a couple of stories that underscore that point.
Have we got time?
In the webinar. I'm going to share that's in the webinar tonight. I'm going to mention one just in brief and I'll expand on it more in the webinar. But some years ago, when we lived in a different place at a different time, we had some neighbours who went through a really acrimonious separation a couple of weeks before Christmas. He moved out. She was at home with the 3 kids. And I remember watching, and we talked about how hard that must be. She just felt broken. She's trying to manage full-time work and dealing with the 3 children and the sadness and the sorrow. And you, because you've got this remarkable giving heart, you said, well, why don't we do something for them? And so we put together a hamper. We were university students at the time. It's not like we had a whole lot of cash, but we put together what was, I thought, an extravagant, amazing hamper. But they didn't have anything. They were really struggling. And we went up there and knocked on the door and said, we know that, like we were pretty bold about it. We said, we know that things are really bad for you at the moment and that your family's going through a hard time. And we brought you this Christmas hamper because we thought that it might just help you to have a merrier Christmas.
Annie and I were just talking about that the other day. It's something that really stood out to her.
Is that right?
She doesn't remember who it was, and she was very young at the time.
She would have been like 5 years old or 7 years old or
something. She said,
something.
Mum, do you remember that Christmas when we did that? Like, it really has affected her. It's something that she has actually asked that we do again this year.
Yeah, beautiful. And so when we give to others, it actually starts to matter a whole lot less what's underneath our tree. And so I'm going to be talking about the different ways that we can do that and involve the children to actually make Christmas much more meaningful. You know, we started this conversation by talking about how to make Christmas matter more, how to focus on that long view. And I reckon this is actually the heart of Christmas.
Well, I wish I was able to tune in tonight because I really think that there's going to be some exciting stuff to share. So if you have got time and you haven't got your tickets yet,
jump online, happyfamilies.com.au. Just click in the shop and grab tickets for How to Unspoil the Kids for Christmas. If you are a Happy Families member, it's already included in your membership. Look forward to seeing you there. Hey, I hope you've really enjoyed this podcast. The podcast is something that we love to do, and we'd love for you to share it with people that you know. You can either share the podcast directly or jump onto Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and review. It's your reviews that help people to find the podcast and have happier families. As always, we appreciate Justin Rulon from Bridge Media for making the podcast sound great, and our executive producer, Craig Bruce, for being so inspirational. Craig, thank you. If you'd like more information about how to make your family flourish, if you'd like to become a Happy Families member, you can get all the details at happyfamilies.com.au.